Welcome back to Philosophy of the Barber. Hello, Cassie.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing this week?
Oh, doing great. I'm grateful for the weather. I'm grateful for the walk-ins. It's a good week.
Nice. So this week, we're getting a little more on the philosophy side of things, because I've got some thoughts of brewing. We'll see what your feedback may or may not be.
Okay.
So I've been seeing a lot of stuff online about, like, there are some influencers and barbers that get really hung up on their perspective of seeing new barbers doing the whole, like, know your worth pricing situation.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it seems like they have that perspective that that's the majority of new barbers.
Yeah.
And then I kind of get to thinking, like, I don't necessarily see that, but there are so many different perspectives in the barber world.
Yeah.
That I suppose it kind of depends on, number one, where you're standing from, what you're looking at, but, like, also the things you're exposed to versus not exposed to. And as wide-ranging as the internet is, we still kind of like the pages and follow the pages we gravitate towards naturally.
Yeah.
And those are the things that, like, we attract to ourselves. So there are things that we're not going to see if we're not going beyond what we're naturally interested in.
Yeah, the scope of just our usual.
Yeah, so it's kind of, like, got me thinking, like, what perspectives we don't cover when we typically talk about things. 'Cause, I mean, we do try to, like, expand our minds to go, all right, well, you know, devil's advocate, like, put ourselves in other people's shoes. How could it look from their point of view? But, like, there's just some things we can't do like that.
Yeah.
Like, we're two females in the barbering industry, so we have our perspective, but we can't possibly know what it's like for a male barber.
Yeah.
And we also a male barber in an urban setting.
Yeah.
Because New Hampshire, I mean, you might find a couple of pockets of urban,
Yeah.
but by no means is it typical here.
Yeah.
I mean, part of that should definitely be, maybe we can reach out to, you know, have more guests on here to really get their perspective, because we can't. It doesn't matter how much we exercise our brain, we cannot fathom those situations if we've never experienced anything like it.
Yeah, especially like the all male kind of environment. It's just a different kind of. I feel like there would be a different kind of bravado amongst the group.
Well, and just the atmosphere, like the competition feeling, the way men interact with one another is just fundamentally different.
Yep.
And as soon as a woman enters the room, everything changes.
You're not wrong.
So, I mean, that's just the reality of what it is. Which is fine. I mean, because it's the same way. Reason I stayed away from salons.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be in all female areas.
Nope.
I mean, we're an exception because we constantly have males in here.
Correct.
And two women, totally fine.
It helps balance out.
Two
very
women,
well.
safe. Three or more?
When
No.
things can get a little dicey.
No, thank you.
Things can get a little dicey.
And then it's also like my personal opinions on hair industry events. Like, they're catering to what they're used to dealing with, like the type of barbershops that they market to and everything. They don't appeal to, I'd say, the majority of rural barbers.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because, like, that's not their target audience. Like, how many rural barbers do you know that give a crap about what kind of sneakers you wear?
Not many.
No. Like, we got different priorities.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing. We just got different stuff.
Yeah.
So even in the marketing world where you're trying to, you know, cast the widest net possible, you're still, like, limiting yourself.
In some way, shape, or form. I feel like there's it's almost like there's a product and or tool line that markets directly for different areas and different perspectives. Like, there's a realm for the urban side, there's a realm for the more rural side as far as, like, products and stuff go.
Is there?
I feel like.
Like what?
See, now you're making me do this.
Because I've seen the urban. Don't get me wrong. I've seen the urban marketing. Bayless is phenomenal at it. But I would really like to know what you consider to be marketing a little bit more towards the rural. We're choosing the most difficult word to say repeatedly.
Yeah, basically. I will
The backwoods barbers.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, because my brain's just pulling strictly all the urban, so maybe they don't even.
Because, I mean, I would say that maybe the closest thing that I might agree with would be if a company is marketing by way of the classic old school barber vibe.
Yeah.
Even then, though, I find that you'll see that with product lines, but not with tool companies.
Yeah, fair enough.
Tool companies seem to be entirely on the burst fades, the designs, you know, that type of clientele. Whereas, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, that's a tool you need in order to do that.
Yeah.
Solid. But you still need a tool that will do your, lock, stock haircuts. So, I don't know. It's interesting. It's kind of like being a lefty versus righty. Like, there's a reason why tools cost so much for lefties, and it's because we're only 10% of the population. So you're going to market towards 90% of the population.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, that's where all the money is.
Yeah.
So, basic business, I understand why my stuff costs more, because it's a bigger pain in the butt to make. And you get a much smaller pool to market. But, I mean, at the same time, applying business tactics to different levels of businesses, nobody can be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't necessarily fault any company that is choosing a lane for their marketing. Like, they're picking their clientele, just like barbers do.
I was going to say, it's very similar to how we do, though.
Yep. So you can't be everything to everybody. You shouldn't try to be.
Yeah.
Stick with what you know, what you got, and what you're confident in, and you'll attract that. Just make sure you don't get bored with it after 10 years.
Yeah.
You set yourself up for failure when you go, I've been doing skin fades for 10 years, and I'm really bored with them. I'd really like to get some other haircuts. Should have thought of that before. You just built yourself a 10-year-long reputation.
Yeah, so make sure you really, really do love it. Like you with your face shapes.
Oh, yeah. If you can honestly continue to say the same phrase and mean it after 12 years.
Yeah.
If I could shave faces all day, I would give up cutting hair. That is still, to this day, 100% true. But I just went down to my barber school today and was talking with a student who has one of his barber licenses, so he's finishing up his hours for his master barber.
Yep.
So he's been working in a shop and going to school at the same time. And it's great to hear that, like, he wants to make sure that he doesn't plateau. Like, he wants to learn things that are outside of the basic formula that he learned in school. Like, I mean, it's great. He's set up in a shop where the shop owner and a lot of the people that work there are graduates of the same barber school. So, like, they have the ability to help grow him and help his techniques. But, like, he wants to learn things beyond
just the foundational wheelhouse of the school.
And I mean, you can learn tips and tricks even if anytime you've been in the industry for a bit, like, you figure things out with your coworkers and everything, just like more efficient ways to do things. But he wants to, like, see if he can, like, learn to braid, which is not a focus at our barber school, and to, do other things that are, I mean, unfortunately, we've had this conversation before, but it's not been on the air. Of, like, things we didn't focus on in school.
Yeah.
Like, if he wants to, like, actually give a luxurious shampoo. Sorry, barber school's not where you learn that.
Yeah.
Giving various other services that you may find in a more urban area, but we don't heavily cover here.
Yeah.
Because it's just, like, there's not a huge market for it. So it's nice to see someone with a drive in barber school that, like, recognizes, even with his first few months at a shop, that he could quickly plateau with his skills, and he wants to avoid that. So he's got the initiative to reach out to other barbers he knows have extended their skill set in a similar way that he's looking for guidance.
Oh, it's good. It's really good.
So it's not all new barbers are all about the, know your worth.
Yeah. Yeah, I very much came into it because I'm only almost 4 years into this industry, and I very much came into it like I had to like work my way up. I knew that I had to start with a cheaper, lower haircut because like I was new and I had to climb a ladder to get to a certain point. I definitely didn't just come in guns hot.
Well, and part of that's skill and part of that's confidence, because confidence and skill are not necessarily always aligned.
Yeah.
Sometimes one is higher than the other.
Yeah.
And I would rather somebody have higher skill than confidence, because confidence can be built incrementally to be healthy, whereas somebody who lacks the skill but has the confidence, no thank you, because you're not open to learning, which means your skill's not going to improve.
Yeah.
Then the confidence needs to be lowered to match the skill, and then build them both up. Humility is a good virtue, in an educational setting especially.
Yes. We want progress and growth. We have to start somewhere.
Which means you have to be open to the concept that you don't know something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was like one thing I had to make sure that I stayed like steady in, because I had no problem like asking questions in a school setting. You know what I mean? Because like that's what we're there to do, is ask and learn. And so I just made sure to continue to carry that mindset into my shop setting, since I was in a position where I got to have an in-training title and a mentor that was there whenever I needed her and stuff. So I made sure to just keep that mindset of like, ask. It's not afraid to ask questions. If that's what they're here for, that's what they want to ask for. Like, if they're willing, ask.
I don't think the thought ever occurred to me that somebody would be unwilling to answer a question for me.
Yeah.
But I'm just that weird person that is super inquisitive. And I guess I make the assumption, which is not necessarily accurate, that because I'm so open to answer anybody's question about anything, that everybody else is too.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to have the balls to ask. Why not? Yeah. Why would you gatekeep? Like, I don't understand. It's knowledge. It's not like I'm going to take it from you if you give it to me.
Yeah, I have an irrational fear from when I was a child of making people upset with me, so that was where that
By
came
asking
into
questions?
play. Yeah.
Were you the why 10 times child?
Yeah, well, of course. Why do you ask?
Alright, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so it was good to know that I could continue that asking questions demeanor and I wasn't going to get shunned.
Good. But you definitely needed that reassurance beforehand.
Yeah.
I think I was more of the, it's not motorcycle week anymore. Shh. I think I was more of the shut up and listen for as long as humanly possible to see if they answer my question so I don't have to ask it. And then when they didn't, then I would ask it.
Yeah. Yep. I'm better about that now.
I'm so very much a shut up and listen person. Like, I'm going to say nothing. If I'm there to learn something, I'm just watching, listening the whole time.
Soaking it up like a sponge.
To everything. I am more vocal about questions now, though, because I realize that most things are on a time schedule. It's like, well, I only have you for another 20 minutes, and I'd really like this question answered.
Yeah.
And maybe like 5 other people in this class also need it answered. It's funny how humility can apply and be beneficial in many different applications. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a confident barber. It instills confidence in your client, in your skill set. Like, you gotta exude confidence, not cockiness.
There's a difference.
But having humility to admit, like, that you don't clearly understand what they're saying the first time.
Yeah. Yes.
To, confirm, make sure that there is clear communication. Like, being willing to extend that and go.
Yes.
And not just the, got you. Yeah, totally got you.
Yeah.
And then screw it up.
Don't just be a yes man. Still understand.
We witnessed that. I'm sure anybody who's worked in more than one shop has witnessed that at some point. But I feel like you can tell, at least I can tell, when somebody's being a yes and they're not listening to me. Ooh, it pisses me off real quick.
Agreed.
It's very much like oh, really? Tell me what I just said.
Yeah. Bring it back.
Yeah. Because I don't believe you, I want to hear it out of your mouth. But I'm that kind of witch with a bee. I'm okay with that. That served me well so far.
Yeah. I'm a little more passive.
But you're so friendly.
I'm a stuffer.
You're what?
A stuffer.
A stuffer.
Of emotions. I become passive.
So you keep them inside?
Yeah, sometimes.
I've not seen that.
Of course you don't see that. You're different.
You're a fountain.
It's different here. This is the safe zone. I don't have to stuff here. You are equally as strong as me. Like, we are both strong. I don't have to be strong for you.
Sure.
So I get to be a fountain if necessary.
I feel like we established that even before we moved here.
Yes.
Yeah. You're like, oh, yeah, I don't have to be strong around her.
No, she's got this. Aside from you, I'm a stuffer.
Okay, I will believe you.
I'll take your word for it.
I haven't witnessed it myself, but anything's possible. I feel like Saturday was the first time you probably saw me anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah.
That was wild. You were so quiet.
You went, she knows these people and she's so quiet.
I was friendlier
Yeah.
to your friend family group than you were.
What, the people at the table?
All of them. Any of them. You were great when we were alone, playing cornhole.
Yes. I'm great one-on-one.
Yes. 3 or more, things just get dicey.
I'm terrible. There's too many energies in the room. Like, I can't fully connect with everybody.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
No, it was lots of fun, though.
This is why I have a suite.
Yeah.
Imagine how I would have been on the main floor of the old shop.
I know. I honestly do try to picture sometimes, like, what you would have been like, because I've never seen you work directly with other people. I've never seen you in that kind of...
I don't have a personality. Like, not much of one.
Yeah.
And in that sort of situation, the 3 or more stations, the amount of sound that is happening, like, I do not compete for sound.
Yeah, yeah.
I am a soft-spoken person, hence the volume levels on our microphones being so different.
Yeah.
Like, I refuse to raise my... number one, I know it when I raise my voice, I sound pissed.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to raise my voice at all because I don't want anybody to think I'm pissed. Unless I'm pissed. And then I'll do that. Fine.
Reserve that for the emotion.
Yes. And for accuracy's sake.
Yes.
I like being accurate. But yeah, I will not compete. I will shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it gets too loud, I will stop speaking. Period.
Yeah.
My clientele became far more loyal once I moved to the back room.
Mm-hmm.
Because they really got to know me.
Yeah. You got to, like, be yourself a little bit more.
Yes, they see me relaxed in my space, fully confident, and fully engaged with them, not having to worry about whether or not a kid's choking on a Lego, whether or not people are answering the phone professionally, or any of those other, like, management things. I'm not having to pay attention to the whole room.
Yes.
Like, my limitation / superpower is that I can either do 10 things and get them done, or I can do one thing and be nice and have a personality.
Yeah, yeah.
So you kind of have to choose. Like, as soon as lockdown hit for COVID, there were 10 things that needed to be done, and nobody cared if I was nice or not.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, cool, I can get these things done, not a problem. Boom, 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 boom. But in a regular setting, people prefer you to have a personality.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because your reasoning for taking a step back and doing a suite style in the old shop is kind of like was always my fear of owning a shop. Like, people would ask me all throughout school, oh, do you want to own your own shop one day, yada yada yada, and the answer was always no for me, because I was afraid of that managerial position. Because, like, in theory, you don't usually start as a one-person shop and stay as a one-person. Like, usually at some point you gather at least another person, and in my head I'd only ever seen 3+ chair shops. So in my head I was like, I wouldn't be able to run a solo shop. That means I'd have to have people working under me. That becomes a whole thing, and then I'm not any longer focused on what I'm trying to do with the connection in my chair, and I have to worry about everything else. And that was my biggest fear about being a business owner. But I think it works out so well here because we're in such a suite style position.
Well, and the irony from my barber journey is that I always wanted to own a shop. That was that was what took me to barber school.
Yes.
Was hearing the ad on the radio about a barber program, and the first thought that entered my head was, "What will my barber shop look like?"
Mm-hmm.
And like immediately having thoughts of what I wanted to create in a barbershop.
Yeah.
And this is not anything that you've seen. That was not the first thought.
Yeah.
But like the act of cutting hair was never part of the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just assumed that I would learn.
Yeah.
That was never a question in my mind. I wanted to be a barber. I wanted to use a straight razor. Like that was my
Yeah.
focus. But yeah, I just assumed that I just got to go to barber school. They'll teach
learn
me
how to
what I
cut
need
hair.
to do.
Yeah.
And boom, I'll be my own boss because and that was really the thing of like always wanting to be an owner because like I've worked for other people and I can be a very good worker because I'm very efficient when people allow me to be. But because I'm constantly looking on how to make processes more efficient, if I find a way for that to happen and my supervisor is not on board with it, I have now found a wall.
Yeah.
And when I find a wall, I leave.
Yeah.
Because you have now stunted my progress in being the most efficient human possible.
Yeah.
In whatever context. So, rather than being a support, like a supervisor should be, if it's benefiting the overall mission of the company,
Yeah.
I go, well, then why am I here? You're not letting me be better. You're not letting anything be better.
Yeah, you're not even letting you help the situation.
Right. Which should be everybody's focus.
Yes.
In the case, if I were a nonprofit, my goal would be to make it so I didn't have to exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that should be the goal of any nonprofit, is to solve whatever your mission is. Not to perpetuate your existence. So, as soon as I've found that I hit walls, I'm out. Like, peace, goodbye, I'm going in another direction.
Yeah.
Same thing with education. Like, I will suck people dry of their knowledge. And then, if you don't have anything else to offer me, you're now a wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So it's like, all right, on to the next.
Yep.
So
What can I learn now?
yeah, I'm very much like that as far as like progress. Like I'm very uncomfortable chilling in this like
Yeah. Almost like a complacency,
I-
like a stagnant area.
I fear complacency in waiting rooms. Like the worst. Hell is a waiting room in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, all right, I need to be an owner because heaven forbid I find a random shop that wants me to do things the complete opposite way that I learned.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people go from barber school into a shop that cuts hair totally different way than they do, and they're ill-equipped to teach them anything further because they don't understand the method of haircutting.
Yeah.
Which is very unfortunate. Like, to not be able to expand your understanding beyond the procedures that you learned is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you and I first met, we had the conversation I was very upfront with you going, hey, if you want to work here, like, the issue you may have is that we were taught at a different educational institution.
Yep.
So that might be a struggle for pointers.
Yep.
But never once would I ever expect anybody to unlearn
Yeah. Yeah.
what they learned in school.
Yep. No, you have to do it this way in order for me to in any way, shape, or form assist you.
But I had a barber that I had taken on because he worked at a shop that insisted on that, and that
Really?
broke down his confidence completely.
Oh.
And he was about ready to quit the whole profession. When I agreed to take him on and build him back up from what he learned in school.
Yeah.
And then he ended up being a great barber until he decided to go to a different profession.
Yep.
But he went to a different profession still having barbering in his back pocket. It's not like he failed in the profession.
Yeah.
He succeeded very well, enough to fund him going back to school to learn something else.
I would say, I guess in a way, my first shop was kind of similar, but at the same time, like, he kind of tapped into us early enough that we were already had kind of some of his skill set in mind. Like, demos already, like, we were already introduced to his technique while we were still in an educational setting. So, like, we were already able to take some of the things he taught us and then utilize them in our school setting. So then when I went into my like in training and was getting like the one-on-ones with another barber and getting walked through a whole haircut, luckily it wasn't completely different from my education. So I got lucky in that aspect, but it's still all very much same concept as far as like doing it his way. You very much learn it his way. The only people that don't get it like that is if you have like 5+ years in the barber industry and don't need to do the whole in training thing or whatever. But other than that, you learn his method.
So,
and everybody does his method in the shop.
Did your school often bring in guest barbers to demo?
Yes.
So that's like part of your education is seeing how people cut differently. So I will say that is one thing that my educational institution did not do, and I feel like it's understandable when you're building a foundation.
Sides. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also the very different focus on what they prioritize your limited amount of time there.
Yeah.
Like, your school definitely gave you tips and tricks on how to execute what you're going for in a, like, timely manner. So, like, they showed you shortcuts in some ways.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas my school definitely focuses more on the ability to execute a procedure with minimal tools.
Yeah.
And I feel like both have real world application and are good. I think that tips and tricks are a little bit more likely to be picked up in a shop setting after school. Whereas your first year out of school, if you dropped and broke a tool in the middle of a haircut, what would you do?
Screwed.
Yeah.
Screwed. Borrow someone else's tool.
Right.
Like, that's it. I would, or depending, I would very much struggle, like, at that time, would have struggled attempting to do, like, a clipper over comb thing, but, like, that would have been a struggle. That wouldn't have been something that I felt comfortable even attempting.
Right. Whereas, if like, people from my school in those situations, like, we're trained for those situations.
Yes.
So we wouldn't bat an eye at that situation.
Yep.
And I go, oh, you have an emergency phone call and you gotta be out of this chair in 60 seconds? Not a problem.
Yep.
Bzz, bzz, bzz. All right, here you go. You look passable and you don't have a big old line in your head.
Yeah.
Like, those are the things that we train for there. Where it's like real world, ooh boy moments.
Yep.
Like, I think they give you all the butt pucker moments in school so that you have minimal amounts of those out of school.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's always best to learn those things with a safety net. It's handy and confidence building when you have a tool in your arsenal that, when you get to a point in a haircut where it's like, hey, there's a line here. I've got a thing that'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Because those are the parts that out of school we would kind of struggle with. Outside of, like, the last maybe 50 hours of your program where things start to really click if you're doing the barber one. Because, I mean, 800 hours, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does take 700 for you to finally get things to start clicking. You're like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
That shadow 1A will totally take care of that. But we're not even issued 1As, like, in school.
Same, we have to buy those. That's not part of the original set that we got either.
That is definitely one. That's one of the first tools I would recommend a student buying out of school.
Yeah.
Or while in school.
Yeah, I was going to say, as soon as you can afford to do it, just go ahead and add that to the...
Yeah. 1A.
Yep.
Gonna need that. It gets used almost as much as my 1.5. Which is the most used blade in my tool set.
Fair.
Did you say that for your half guard?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I have been using my blades more often. And my 2 and my 1.5 get used the most.
What do you use so heavily with the 2?
My bolt.
Why don't you use the 1.5?
It depends on what I'm doing with the haircut. Sometimes I like a little fuller here.
I tend to only use a 2 if I'm doing a medium fit. Or or longer, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. I get a lot of those though.
Right.
So.
Yeah, my 3.5, 1.5, and 1A definitely get the most use. Because even sometimes, like, if I'm keeping the 3.5 low, I'll just go straight to the 1.5 from the 3.5 because you can just adjust it on its toe a little bit and it becomes a 2. So I don't even have to go back and change another blade out. I can just adjust the angle. I will say I try and shy any buzz cut people away from a 2 because it looks fuzzier than a 1.5.
Yeah, same.
Now there used to be a blade, they don't make it anymore, the 2 3/4.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was perfect.
Really?
It didn't have the fuzziness of the 2.
Oh, okay.
It was great. I wonder if I still have one somewhere. I might. Got enough random things sitting around here.
Might be a random blade
I
somewhere.
still love a 2 3/4. Niche blades that, like, 100 years from now, people be digging up stuff and be like, what was this? Or, like, oddities in museums to be like, oh, they used to have a 2 3/4. What did they use that for?
Yeah.
Such a random number. Like, why did they choose 2 3/4 versus a 2.5? Because that doesn't exist either.
I don't know.
They did have a 1 1/4 for a bit.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you what
What
length of hair it left.
Yeah, what it was doing.
I think the 2 3/4 was like 5/16 or something. I don't know. I can't math anymore when it comes to blade lengths.
Mm-mm.
I memorized those. Knew them for a really long time. I don't have to test anymore.
I never memorized them.
Somebody asked for a 1/2 inch on top. Boom, 3 3/4.
I check my plastics. I'll admit it. I'm not good like that, guys. I'm getting better the more I check my plastics. But it's so rare that someone asks it by that measurement.
True.
It's so rare.
I've had some people, we've had some Europeans come in and ask for a millimeter measurement, and I've had to check the blade lengths for that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they're printed on there. We have the millimeter lengths printed on here, but they are in succession, a fraction of an inch. I get it. Like, they were made in the U.S.
Yeah.
originally.
Yeah.
When we established a number system, if it ain't broke, just make sure you can sell it everywhere else in the world by printing the millimeter measurement.
Yep.
What else did you shied you away from ever wanting to be a business owner?
Mostly that. Honestly, I was afraid that doing that, I would be so focused on everything else that I would lose my passion. And I was so passionate about connecting with people and like making people feel good. Like that's what drew me to the business, is like rarely people leave feeling displeased, and I was afraid that I would lose sight of what was important doing that.
We've had quite the opposite journeys of barbering.
Yeah.
Because it took me several burnouts to figure out that was why I loved barbering.
Ah.
Like, I didn't consciously know that at the beginning. That's not why I sought it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. Not necessarily, but like the hair industry, that's exactly what I wanted. I liked, because it took me so long for me to find a love and a like for myself. And so like knowing that, but I always felt good after a hair appointment. No matter how I felt in my day-to-day life about myself, I still always felt fantastic after a hair appointment. Mm-hmm. And like that's what really drew me into it. And then I just, not semi-unfortunate, because men can be just as complimentative, but the semi-downside of my switch into barbering, though, is I don't get a lot of that instant gratification verbalized.
The expressive-ness?
Yes.
Yeah, females are far more expressive.
Yes. So, and I do love that part of it, because words of affirmation, reassurance, all the good stuff, positive reinforcement, all those things. And so, like, that is the kind of a downside, because I do feed so much on the expressiveness of that, and I don't get that much with the fellas, but
they show it in action, though.
And double flip side of that is when I do get it now, it means so much more, and like the compliments are way different and hit in way different ways. Like example. I will always like, and I keep getting it more recently too, is my favorite one is, I love the way my hair grows back in. Yeah. That's not something a woman's gonna say.
No.
They don't care how it grows back in. They care what's coming back out through the top, how much has grown out. That's what they care about. And men are like, yes, I like the way it grew in. It wasn't a pain in the butt. Like, I didn't have to. I'm just like, yes.
Well, it looks good for the whole duration of the haircut, the
until
lifetime.
I see you again.
Yes. And, I mean, I feel like that's really the difference between cosmetology and barbering when it comes to the haircutting portion of our license, is barbers, being primarily precision haircutters, care about the entire longevity of the haircut.
Yes.
Not only hitting the hairstyle that you want now.
Yep. And that's even like something discussed even more so. Not saying that hairstylists don't also do it. I can't speak for how they do their consultations. But even more so, like when I'm doing a consultation, if they're looking for a haircut that I don't think will agree with their cowlick because of the longevity of it, I'm like, all right, I'm willing to do this, but just know this could happen. And like if they still want to then proceed because they're like, I'd rather just not deal with it now, cool. Then I'll shave your cowlick off if that's what you really want. But you will get the warning of like, all right, in a couple days, it might be a little unfriendly to deal with. Do you want to deal with that? Okay, then here you go.
Yep. Well, I mean, there are the trends right now, though, for hairstylists, like the more lived-in chemical service looks, are more popular now. So I feel like females are kind of starting to want to have looks that are a little bit more on the low maintenance end.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I mean, it's one thing to have like the fresh highlights and stuff. It's a whole nother one to like the balayage and the shadow roots and like because you can have that longer between appointments.
Yep.
Which is smart and economical, and no one's gonna complain about it. Rather than them, fresh, chunky highlights, and then it's like, ooh, hello, line of demarcation.
Best friend.
Hello, early 2000s.
Oh my god. I'm literally in my head mentally picturing this picture of me and my brother. We had like a before and after of this hair appointment that we had, and it was like one of my first few times getting highlights in the early 2000s. So chunky.
Hello, Kelly Clarkson.
We were at Hair Excitement. It was $5 a foil. We got 5 foils.
I'm sure that looked fantastic.
Oh, it was great. There was like just 3 or 4 stripes across the top of my head, and then like a couple down the back.
$5 a foil?
That's what the deal was.
How is that a deal?
I don't know. That's just what it was.
Even now, $5 a foil. Like, what?
I mean, that's probably what it is. If you break it down per foil, because hair is expensive.
Sure, but like...
They put a lot of foils
we've had a lot
there.
of inflation between like the early 2000s and now. Hair Excitement. Make it make sense.
They just use more foils now.
Yeah.
They were able to get away with less back then.
I will say, other people use way more foils now. The sections are so thin now. But I mean, that's what you got to do to get those kind of results.
Yeah, I was going to say, to get the real good evenness, that's what needs to happen.
But the amount of chunky foils on America's Next Top Model.
Yes.
I love those old school reruns. I'm glad I was not in the hair industry during that time.
Yeah, beards didn't really exist.
Well, beards didn't exist really like when I was in school, so
I know.
It ain't been around that long.
That's not a world I want to ever be a part of.
I mean,
you feel about face shaves how I feel about beards.
And that's fine.
I love them.
I still like me a solid beard trim. It's very satisfying, especially with a nice transition into a fresh haircut. But if somebody wants me to straight razor line up their beard, yeah, I'm totally gonna do that.
Yeah.
Please let me. The fact that I have one customer who is an every weeker anyway with a beard, who doesn't want to shave midweek. I'm like, you can come in midweek and I'll shave it for you. You don't want to do it, I'm happy to do it for you.
Yep.
Twist my arm.
I know. I just told one of my guys the other day, I was like, you can come in for just a beard trim in between haircuts. And they're like, I can? That's an option? I'm like, yes, absolutely. Like, oh.
Game changer.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, you're welcome. Doesn't always have to be a bundle deal.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's not like you're getting a deal when you bundle them.
No.
We don't price like that.
It's just a bundle.
Some places do price like that.
They do.
And hey, they're fair. You get a discount for adding service. Cool. I prefer the classic a la carte.
Yep.
But I also charge the same amount for a buzz cut as I do for a really complicated long haircut. So, haircut's a haircut.
Haircut's a haircut. If hair's getting cut, it's a haircut.
That was another thing online I saw recently. Was like people like giving people grief about like if somebody walks in and just wants like a 2 on top and lineup, charging the same price as any other haircut, like a fade or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's a haircut. If you don't think it's that big of a deal, why don't you do it yourself?
Yep.
Because they're like, oh, I can do that in like 10 minutes. Well, then if you're doing that in 10 minutes, you're the one who's devaluing your service.
Yeah. You can still take your time.
Yeah, and you can still give them a quality experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whether or not you can shut your mouth and bust that out in 10 minutes is immaterial. They're paying for the entire experience of being in your chair.
Yep.
And if you're wanting to shortchange them, then yeah, price them accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to do that to people. Mm-hmm. If you're going to sit in my chair, I want you to have a certain expectation of the quality of experience you're going to have with me. Yep. I don't care how big, small your head is. I don't care how much hair you come in with, how much hair you leave with. You are going to enjoy yourself. Heck, the people that seem to come and see me the most are bald.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they feel like, of all the places, they get given time and attention. And
they're
therefore, they see the value.
Worth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're rocking out a 2 and a lineup in 10 minutes. Yeah. Don't charge them as much.
Easy peasy. But don't knock those that do. I mean, because if we want to go there, my personal opinion is that salons should charge as much as they do for a haircut. As far as the difference from like men's to women's. Men's are always much cheaper. Much cheaper than women's.
I've never agreed with gender-based pricing.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually why I have my pricing the way I do. Is because hair has no sex.
Mm-mm.
Like,
it's hair.
I'm licensed to cut hair. Period. All lengths. Why? Like, because I have indoor plumbing, I suddenly need to be charged $45 for a haircut?
Yeah.
In a salon where I'm not going to get as good quality of a short haircut. Not get the same haircut as a guy.
Yeah.
Like, but I go to a barbershop and that's okay for them to charge less for a way better haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the people who are like griping on barbershops for raising their prices, at least in New Hampshire, our prices were stagnant for years. Like, stagnant at $16 a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Now the barber school's charging $16 a haircut. Like, things have gone up.
Yeah.
But also, the skill set that barbers offer has increased. Despite the fact that we've always done better men's haircuts than salons typically would.
Yes.
So it's like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Why the price discrepancy?
Yep.
And I mean, I've always been a fan of charging for time. It doesn't matter what you're doing as a professional. Charge for your time.
I was going to say, and if you always just charge for your time, then what you're doing is irrelevant.
Yes.
It's just your time.
And you're never going to feel resentment for like, oh, man, I'm stuck doing a beard trim. I could be making more money doing a shave.
Yep.
No, you're priced according to your time, so you're good.
Yep.
It'd be like your therapist because you're doing a different type of exercise during that session, suddenly having a different hourly rate. How much sense does that make?
Yeah.
Like, you're still there for an hour, or 50 minutes, or whatever.
Whatever it is.
I don't think it's ever really an hour. Because you still have to schedule the next one.
Ah.
I get you.
Oh, but no, I can't afford therapy.
Barbers are cheaper.
Yeah, see, exactly. I've got one right here. Where I can be my fountain.
Got 12 years of experience. That's one of the things I love about barbering, too. Like, I did want to go into psychology.
Same.
Before I went to the military. Couldn't afford it. Hence why the military service.
Yeah.
I've always found individuals to be fascinating. I hate lumping people into groups. So sociology, not my thing. But psychology, yeah. Studying the individual, fascinating. If you find people boring, you're not listening hard enough.
Yeah. Agreed.
Even just like little hints of things, like tone of voice they greet you with, pauses between replies of like how they're doing, those types of things. Like, they tell you so much whether they're using words or not.
Yeah. Where they divert their eyes. Like, if they do make eye contact in the mirror, or if they're like an eyes closed or like a just looking around kind of person.
There's one thing that I've noticed recently is how comfortable somebody is with speaking through the mirror. And I find it odd when people are uncomfortable making eye contact through the mirror.
Yeah.
They would rather make actual eye contact. I'm like, I have to multitask. Like, I have to clean this tool and talk to you.
Yep.
Be efficient with me. It's still connection.
Do you want me to turn towards you and shake this up onto your shoes? Or should I?
Well, but also sometimes the the proximity to somebody's face,
Yes.
it bothers me in my eyes. I feel like that's just an eyeball thing. Like, if I'm 3 feet away from your face, I don't like sustained eye contact with you.
Yeah.
Because that's a little bit too intimate for me as far as distance.
Yeah.
I feel much more comfortable making eye contact with people with the mirror, so it's like 6 to 8
Longevity.
feet. Yes. Like, I can sustain
You
eye
can
contact,
handle
it's not
it
a problem.
longer in the mirror.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I'm going to do some Googling about it later, though. I'm curious.
I'm sure it's probably like it's got to be like a intimacy bubble thing.
Yeah.
Some people just get uncomfortable with eye contact. Like sustained eye contact. I think that's one of the top 5 reasons why people find me intimidating. Because I can hold eye contact pretty well.
Yeah.
But, like, I make a point to look away and blink and those types of things when talking to some people for their sake.
Because you're like, I'm fine. We can do this all day.
Seriously, I feel like I got a lot of practice all the way. The first time I ever heard in elementary school signs that a student is listening, like I always made a point to give off those signs.
That you were listening? Yeah.
Yes. Eye contact, like leaning forward slightly towards the teacher, like those types of things, not fiddling around with stuff. So, like, I've always done that as soon as that was, like, brought to my attention.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's like ingrained in you.
okay, this is what you want?
Done.
Eyeballs.
Eye contact.
That's right, they're blue. But then, I learned how to cross with one eye, and in high school I was just a little bit on the mischievous side. While still obviously following all the rules, because I do that.
Yeah.
I went an entire English class in 10th grade with one eye crossed.
Oh my gosh. That was wild. The way you didn't get stuck.
He was my least favorite English teacher.
I mean, clearly.
Just imagine a student just
No.
the whole time.
No, absolutely not. Send you to the office or something.
For what?
I don't know.
Making
The
fun of my
nurse.
disability?
Yeah, the
I have
nurse.
a lazy eye.
You were checked on.
Are you looking at me or them?
I was into good old-fashioned mischief.
Yeah, but that was like hardcore mischief.
Yeah, real mischief.
I didn't grow up in that kind of household.
Hoodlum style. Real delinquent here.
I feared the wrath of my father too much for that.
No, my mushy dad. He was just... Naive is a rude word to use, but that.
Unaware.
Yeah. Very much just turned a blind eye. He's scared for real life.
He had other things to be concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, though, my dad is actually one of the driving factors for being a barber and being the type of barber I am, which is a fun little dive into my own personal psychology. So once I realized that I could not, in my opinion, get the approval of him, I decided I would rather point my energy towards getting the approval of every male I come in contact with.
Yep.
So barbering is ideal for that.
Yep. Perfect.
Maximum numbers. That way I can pull out a slew of clientele going, see, Dad? They can't all be wrong.
Yep.
Maybe it's you.
Look, they're all happy with me. Fair enough.
Maybe you're not paying attention to something.
Mm-hmm.
Any other points? Mostly I think we got on the subject of what you didn't, like reasons you didn't want to own a shop.
Yep.
Despite
Perfect.
the fact that you now do.
Yep. Do and love it. Turned out great so far.
It's all about incremental improvements.
Yep.
Just identify the things you have problems with and make sure that you eliminate them.
Yep.
Step 1, don't have other people.
Always
As opposed
be,
to like opening a shop with 3 chairs immediately.
Yeah. Always be willing to adapt and grow.
Well, so that was actually something I didn't mention, was the reason why I opened a 3-chair shop even though I bought a 1-chair shop.
Mm-hmm.
Was because I never, after working in 2 shops, I never wanted to be alone in a barbershop.
Yeah.
How ironic.
Yep.
Though I'm still not alone in a barbershop.
Nope.
So.
I also never wanted to be alone. That's why this worked out so good.
Yep. not alone, but privacy.
Yeah. Best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. I know
Absolutely.
you were a little concerned,
Just only a little bit, but we made it through.
a little anxious.
Yep.
All right. We will see you all next week.
Have a wonderful night.